I'm now going to talk about humanoid birdmen. It is my belief that humanoid bird people have been here for thousands of years, right up to modern times. But I'm going to prove this now, and I'm going to provide evidence which is completely verifiable, and which you'll find very easy, in fact, to verify. But understand that this is a strange idea. After all, birds and people are so different. Birds have hollow bones, while ours have marrow through it. They evolved to fly and be very light, while we aren't. But what I'm talking about here isn't actually a literal hybrid of birds and humans. What I'm actually talking about is an entity which looks like both. That's really what I'm talking about. And has been visiting this planet for thousands of years. Me come from somewhere else, as another planet. It's just likely to be another dimension, another stage of existence. Okay? And that's what I'm going to talk about. But like I said, the evidence that I provide will be verifiable. You'll be able to verify it quite easily. But I know this is a strange idea. Don't think that I don't know this idea is strange. But all I want from you is to listen to the evidence here, and then you can decide for yourself. And I'm going to start off by talking about angels. These are an easy way to start because these are bird people that you will probably have heard about before. Angels are found in religions such as Christianity, Judaism and Islam. Angels, when classified in Christianity, are split into three spheres, each with three choirs each. But the look of these angels varies. The highest type of angel is called the seraphim, and it has three pairs of wings. One covers the feet, one covers the face, with the third they fly. The seraphim, the highest angelic class, they are the first three in first choir. The cherubim come next down. They have four faces, one on each side of the head. They have one face of a man, one of an ox, one of a lion and one of an eagle. The cherubim are adult looking. They are not at all like the cherubs you see depicted in paintings. They're a completely different thing. The cherubim are of the first three and second choir. Next down we have the thrones. These are circles of light. Some say with eyes, some say they appear as a wheel within a wheel. However, they are also described as adoring elder men. But the thrones are the first three and third choir. But they are also a link of these bird men and UFOs, flying saucers, you know, the fact that they come from somewhere else. The thrones are also a good description of, when thought of as circles of light, or what the Egyptians called sun discs. Okay, so this links these birdmen to needing a craft, to coming from somewhere else in a dimension, another, somewhere else in space, you know, I think somewhere like that, and also a technology which they seem to keep hidden from us. All of the other angels of the second and third sphere are divided into three choirs each, but all of these types of angels now look like humans with wings. Okay, and as you go down, these are the ones people are most likely to see. So these are the ones there'll be more information on, more agreement. Okay. So the next angels are called lordships or dominions, and these manage the lower angels. They're not thought to be seen very much by us. Next you have virtues or strongholds, and these are those that cause miracles to happen, so it could also be thought as being those which make the impossible happen, or as a show of strength, you know. There's no greater show of strength than making something completely impossible happen. And that's really what that is. Powers or authorities are next. These are very important. These are thought to rule humanity. Okay. And that means that literally, you know, the large organisational decisions, who gets elected, what happens where, is thought to be them, you know, whether there is a war or not, that's them, which means that these beings at least want to give the impression of control us, but may well do. Okay, the angels of the third sphere are the ones I'm talking about now. These have got principalities or rulers. These are said to inspire humanity in art or science, and so these entities are thought to regulate our progress. Okay, I am of the opinion though that humanity is well able to progress alone, which says to me that in actual fact it's a means of regulation. Okay. The archangels are next. These are warrior angels. Their purpose could be thought of as being to control us and to battle other entities. They could also be thought of as our protectors. But are we really certain that we need their protection? Okay. And we come to now the lowest hierarchy. The one you're more likely to see is called the plain angel or malachim. These are general angels, and the angels are more concerned with humanity, and as humans, they're most likely to be seen, okay? But there is other sorts of bird beings too, at least other sightings of these. I'm now going to move on to Russian mythical birds with human heads, where you have the alkonost, a creature which has the body and wings of a bird, but it has a head of a beautiful human woman, but it's a really big bird, okay? I don't think a small bird, it's like a really big bird with a human head. It says when it sings, all who hear it forget everything and want nothing else ever again. That sort of links us in sometimes to the idea of UFO abductions, where people get abducted and then they forget parts of their life, or they forget that whole section that they've lost time. These were said to live in the underworld, which may be reference to another realm or planet, okay? Supposed to be the daughter of a Greek demigoddess called Alcyone. And there's also another Russian bird called Gamayun, a large bird's body and head of a beautiful human woman, linked to prophecies, a symbol of knowledge and wisdom. And this again shows that they have intelligence. Said to live in an island in the east close to paradise. But you know, paradise, it's more like a statement which says, you know, they're from somewhere else, isn't it really? It's depicted in a painting by Gamayun by Victor Klasnetsov as having a large blackbird's body with a human's head, with a woman's head. Next we've got Siren, which is the head and chest of a beautiful woman and the body of a large bird, usually an owl. The Siren was said to live in Indian lands near Eden. Again, the idea of somewhere else, near the Euphrates River. And as I said, this simply depicts a faraway place, like because of its otherworldliness. Next we move on to the Philippines. There's the Ekek. These are winged humans, basically. They hunt for victims at night, they crave flesh and blood. They can transform from a winged human to a large bat, or large bird-like bat. So again, we've got this idea there of wings again. Okay. They drain the blood from the womb of pregnant women. That doesn't make a sound. Ekek. There's then the Favahar. This is a symbol of Iran, Persia. It is a winged disc, which is said to Favarashi, which is the guardian angel, so it represents that. But it's not clear what this means. But if we take it as symbolic, then the wings would represent the winged creature. And there's a symbol came from Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt are things about the sun disk, and what we're really talking about is things linked with flying saucers and wings, which leads me to a combination of, like I said before, flying saucers, wings being these bird people basically. Although that one's more open to interpretation. Next there is the Garuda, which is a humanoid bird or large bird creature, appearing in Hinduism and Buddhism. The Garuda is depicted as having the golden body of a strong man with a white face, red wings and an eagle's beak, and with a crown on his head. Since ancient date, it was said to be massive, large enough to block out the sun. Okay. In the Mahabharata, the Garuda hatched from an egg. But also in the Mahabharata, Garuda has 6 sons who are the race of humanoid birds descended from them. So they're the race of the very beginning of the race of humanoid birds, at least I'd say there. So that's a mention of a race of humanoid birds. So that's what we've got there. So that links this all in again. But the Garuda in Buddhism are said to be birds with intelligence and organisation, meaning they have human type intellect and organisation skills that we do. It also believes that they have kings and cities, which was either another plane of existence, planet, or hidden away somewhere. So we're talking like kings and cities is what they thought, I think, in Buddhism. So what we're talking about is an intelligent entity, it's like as intelligent as us, maybe more so. Now move on to Egyptian deities. We've now got Horus, Egyptian god of the sky and kingship, bird-headed with a human body, worshipped from late pre-dynastic periods of ancient Egypt to Greco-Roman times, although still used in occultism today. Horus depicted as a man with a falcon's head, but also simply a falcon. Earlier times show him as the patron deity of Nekhen in Upper Egypt. Thos, ancient Egyptian god of knowledge, and we've got this idea of knowledge again, now with it being intelligent. Depicted as a human with a head of an ibi, a type of bird. Sometimes even a baboon, which to me says that these things aren't literally necessarily birds headed. It's just that's the best way to describe them, you know. They're not literally a human-bird hybrid. They're just something which looks a hell of a lot like it. Now we move into Ra, is an ancient Egyptian sun god. By the 5th dynasty, he'd become a major Egyptian god, one of the most famous even today. He's a bird-headed deity, that's mean he's described as a human with the head of a falcon. Said to be the creator of the world, the sky, the earth, the underworld, sometimes depicted with a sun disk above his head. So again, we're linking Ra in with these sort of craft, these flying saucers. And if you move on to the Japanese ones, we've got Kakura, a Japanese Hindu Buddhist figure usually thought to be mythological. Although the Kakura can be thought to be a race of huge fire-breathing birds, usually it's thought to have a human body with wings and a bird's head. Okay. Tengu, it means heavenly dog, but not usually thought to be seen that way. Often thought to be Japanese mountain gods who can take a number of forms, one of which is a humanoid bird. When seen as humanoid birds, they have elongated human noses, bird-like. Okay, so what we've got there really is we have the idea of transformation as well, but also a link with, like I said, humanoid birds. Well, what I want you to know now is that in the past, people couldn't really just draw something down, especially in the long distant past. It wasn't very easy for them. It was very, very difficult, in fact. And what they did when they saw things is they chunked. By that I mean they took complex, say something that was complicated and reduced it down to things they already knew. And it's for this reason that these bird people are actually depicted as parts. You know, a lot of them depicted as a human part, you know, a bird part. It's their way of showing that they were a blend of both, and their way of trying to depict them and also describe it in a way which other people would find it easy to understand. And when you look at things, you look at what they saw, and you look at it in those terms, it becomes very easy to link these things together and to see that what is actually there is an underlying thing, something underlying which connects these entities. Okay, I'm now going to move on to beings from Greek mythology. We've got Nike, winged goddess of victory. Ancient Greek goddess who personified victory and is depicted as a woman with wings, Boreas. Greek god of the cold north wind. Thought to be an old man with wings, also had shaggy hair and a beard. Said to be very strong, although the Greek geographer Pausanias said that he had snakes for feet. He's usually just depicted as a man with wings. Eros. Ancient Greek god of love and sexual desire, depicted again as a man with wings. And if we go into the Norse entities, we've got the Valkyries from Norse legend, depicted as females with wings. They choose those who die in battle, basically, as in they take half of those that die in battle to Valhalla. This means the Valkyries are linked to death. It also links these bird entities, like I said, these birdmen to death. When I say birdmen, I mean bird people, okay? Bird humans, or humanoid. The word Valkyries is actually taken from two words, the first meaning slain on the battlefield and the second means to choose. They're said to be the daughters of royalty and sometimes are accompanied by ravens, swans or horses. Okay, the fact that they're accompanied by ravens does tend to indicate their colour. Okay, so we've got a colour there that seems to indicate it as black. Okay, now we go on the Celtic, we've got Catnabodera. Catnabodera, a Celtic Gaulish goddess, was known as the battle crow, so this gives a colour as well. We can look at what paintings and things exist to discern the colours of other things, but battle crow does seem to indicate that it has black wings. Linked to death, war, battle, victory. Like I said, the fact that the battle crow name doesn't suggest it as another humanoid bird entity, and that's how it's been described. It's also linked to war and death, the sign of imminent death if the Catnabodera appears. But when you think about it, if it was linked to death, where else would it be? After all, in the ancient world, where would more people die than on the battlefield? Even today, there's more people dying, you know, per area in a battlefield than anywhere else. We've also moved on to the Morrigan. Said to fly above battlefields like a huge crow, again a humanoid bird. So again, we're finding basically the same entity really, or at least the same class of entities. The Morrigan associated again with death, war, battle, but also with wealth and land. The Morrigan also thought to be three entities in this case. It's thought to be three sisters. This means that what we're talking about here, they understood, wasn't one entity, but a group of entities, okay? A group of beings. The Morrigan also a symbol of imminent death. The Morgan also said to sometimes take direct part in battle, showing favour one side or another, which means you're talking not just the Morgan appearing, or these Birdmen appearing in a battlefield and taking some away, but actually flying on the battlefield and killing large amounts of people, taking a direct side. That also links us into the angels, if you remember. The idea that some angels rule us, that they actually decide what will happen. So that links in with that again. You know, if things go too much off plan, they would appear and do killing themselves. Now we move on to the Banshee, Irish being an omen of death. But there have been sightings of the Banshee in Scotland, Wales, Ireland, many other places as well. The Banshee was linked to some old rich families, and it would make a noise to be like a lament, a combination cry and sing, which was said that a family member was about to die. The Banshee is said to appear in different forms: a frightening old woman, a beautiful young woman, dressed in white, grey, black, green or even red, and also as a crow, stoat, owl and weasel. So what we've really got here is the entities being able to transform. Okay, so you seem to have something which is, at least for most of these entities, is, you know, a humanoid bird, but it can look like us. That's what it really seems to say. Because how would you know if it's a crow or a stoat or something like this, you know? The most popular form of Banshee is where she flies through the air. If we go into modern times, we've got the Mothman. There's quite a few sightings of this entity, and it's much more recent, and it was famously seen at Point Pleasant, West Virginia, USA. First seen on November the 12th, 1966, near a cemetery, being sighted by 5 grave diggers. So again, we've got a link to death. They said this, so a man-like figure fly low from the trees. So again, we've got humanoid bird figure again, the same idea. Also seen on November the 15th by a young couple from Point Pleasant. They said they saw a flying white creature with glowing red eyes. Okay. Later sightings described it as looking like a large bird with red eyes. All sightings stopped in December 15th, 1967. The date of the catastrophic collapse of the Silver Bridge, where 46 people died, this gave rise to the Mothman legend. So this really shows that what we've got is the same entities being seen for thousands of years and really still being here. From what we've already found, we can classify these sightings and this information into 3 categories. There seems to be those which are literally humans with wings, or at least humanoid with wings shaped. The second seems to be entities which are birds with human heads. And the third is literally humans with bird heads. Now if we look at the first 2 of these and we think about the Mothman, we think back to the Mothman, what we really have is a crossover here. You know, it's their way of describing that it looks at a similar shape. If we take an entity that doesn't really have a human head but has something that looks similar, and it has a body which is roughly human shape but isn't human coloured and has wings, then what we get is that these 2 different types come together. It's the same with the third, of a human with a bird's head, with or without wings. The without wings could simply mean that the wings are by the side, or they could even have been cut off as a punishment in some way. But if we look at this again and we think back to the Mothman, even this doesn't seem that different. And we can pull them in together, that they're all a depiction of the same type. What we also seem to find is different colours. There seems to be ones that are black, there seem to be ones that are white, and ones which are multicoloured, and that seems to be what we have. Although there does seem to be less of the multicoloured ones around in modern times. But these entities also been linked as being from somewhere else, you know, another planet, above or below, a different plane of existence. But there's one thing we haven't really thought about that much, and that is that as we went through this, we've met the idea that these entities actually have the power to transform, or at least to be seen in human form. And this means that it's very easy for them to actually be here. You know, they wouldn't need to hide that much, really. I'm not saying that they have necessarily the ability to have a conversation, although if they do have that ability, then likely as not, there's bird people watching this right now with you. But what it also means is that, you know, it's easy for them to hide, easy for them to be a part of society to an extent. All they need would be a house. They wouldn't really need anything underground or anything difficult. It'd be very easy for them to conceal themselves, although they'd probably want to be places that were quite far away or with good security and closed off. What we also come against is the idea that these entities seem to have a thread of lots of different things, but also as having power over us, as wanting to have power over humanity. Okay, also linked to death as well, and they seem to get something out of that. So I suppose as we come to the end of this, what we've really got to think about now isn't the fact that do alien humanoid birds exist, because they do, but that they've been here a very long time, that they are still here, and we have to face the fact they're probably going to stay here. You know, we're not alone on this planet, we haven't been for a very long time, and we have to face that fact and to come up with a way to go forward and to live in this fashion, but without being controlled or being enslaved. Well, this is the end of this film. My name is S. Rob. Goodbye.